Hello, welcome to How to Grow a Garden. I'm Scarlett. I am again at my mother's. Her garden is quite huge and I am doing an awful lot of propagating. Now I'm doing seed propagating here, and what I want to do is get more of these flowers to grow everywhere else. And so this is Echinacea. The leaves look like this. They're fat, long, fat, and you can tell that these little vines go pretty much from the same point. They like to all start down the bottom and then reach out, kind of like an umbrella. So that's an Echinacea leaf. Echinacea is a coneflower, and there's one right here that is still, it's not exactly in bloom. It's dying. It's definitely done, but at least you can see they are purple and they're very pretty, and the common name is coneflower. The scientific name is Echinacea. It's a very popular name, so no matter pretty much any place you go and you look for Echinacea, you're going to find it. Whereas if you say coneflower, depending on the region, it might mean something else. So I have my handy bag, my little scissors, and I even have a big pile of them in my back pocket. And what I want to do, come in here a bit, is I'm going to look for the ones that are black as possible. This one's pretty dark, this one's pretty dark. And you can see in the center they're going to be a little green if they're not quite ready. So I will not harvest that one. Whereas this one is not green in the center, instead it is white. So those little white dots in there, those are the actual seeds. In fact, see how that one's falling out? There we go. That is an Echinacea seed. They are tiny little white cone-shaped flowers. Now you don't want to take them off like that. That was just to show you. And I'm just going to get that to propagate somewhere. What I want to do is come down here, maybe 3 or 4 inches below the flower. And I want to then pop it into the bag. Now the process of clipping them, they might start jumping out. If I wanted to just propagate them right here, if I wanted to sow these seeds, I could wait until spring and then come out and sow them at the right time. Now the only issue I normally have with that is that you don't know what spring you're going to get. Like this year it was really, really, really rainy. The plant is producing them right now and it wants to drop the seeds right now, and the seeds that drop now are going to get buried under the leaves, under the foliage, under the snow, and they're going to grow at exactly the right time. So it is okay to sow your flowers, your perennial flowers, now. So you can either, attempt to do that. It's going to take a really long time. Or we're just going to, and these are really prickly. They do kind of hurt. I can do this with gloves. There we go. So I'm just going to pull it apart. If you work from the edge, you'll, have less prickles going into your finger. Okay, this centerpiece, this is just roughage. That's not important. That can go down to the ground and turn into compost. And this is going to be a mix. These long parts are not seeds. These little ones, like I showed you a minute ago, those are the actual seeds. That little one. Okay, so this stuff is just roughage we don't need. But in order to get this plant to grow, because it will produce its seeds, it will drop some of its seeds. A lot of these seeds will actually stay, and in spring we'll find that the seeds are still on here. So I haven't moved very far. I'm about 6 feet of where I was. But there are no Echinaceas growing right here. There is a black-eyed Susie, that one. Horrible name. And I'm going to take these and just broadcast them. So I just want to give them a little toss. Just a small handful in a few directions. This is also a very, very, very weedy bed. Same thing. Just gonna give them a little toss. And that's enough. That's enough that next year we will have Echinacea growing in this bed. Now I can go around the garden and continue to do this wherever I want these flowers to grow. In the spring, once they start growing, I can dig them up, or I will dig them up if there's too many clustered together, and then I'll move them around into different places and treat them more like a traditional plant. If you don't want to touch them because they're too prickly, you can take 2 and rub them together. And and what is in there, the tiny little seeds will pop out. And in fact, if you take one off and you look at it, you might find that there are no tiny seeds because the wind has gotten them. So this one is completely seedless, except this side. There's a little bit of seed there. So instead of using my hand and pulling it apart and potentially, you know, having issues like that, I can just scratch the two together or use scissors. That seems to even work better, since I have them anyway. There we go. And the little guys will just pop right out. Come on. Try not to get them in your eyes. Okay. And voila. And actually, it's much softer after the seeds are gone. So then that becomes compost on the ground. Now, another thing is, if anyone's thinking, oh my gosh, you're scattering way too many, you have to consider you're at the end of the year, and there are lots and lots of birds that are going to come in the fall, and they're going to nibble. So when scattering the seeds in fall, you want to scatter way more than what you would do in spring. But don't worry, still a lot of them will come up, and if you have too many, you can always split them and go from there. You can always dig them up, move them around. There we go. So if I do this, see how I pop out. So I would say one seed head could probably do like 100 square feet. You know, like a 10 by 10 or something. You know, so if you bought this as a pack, you'd probably have a little less than that, and you wouldn't have any roughage. You might have 50 seeds or so in a pack, and probably pay $3 or $4 for it if it's really good high quality. I know that these bloomed beautifully this year, which means they're really high quality. And also what has grown in your garden is more accustomed to the conditions of your garden. So if you had drought, if you live in a warm place, if you live in a cold place, the seeds are going to know that because the plant knew that, and the plant will tell the seeds what to do. It's all in its genetics, right? So it's better to have seeds from your local environment than to order them in from really far away where they were grown in a very hot climate or a very cold climate, something opposite to what you have, or a very wet climate when you're in the dry. So try to find seeds from friends, family who live locally to you, or buy them from a seed supply shop that, again, grows them locally to you. Or even if they grow them across the country, just make sure that their climate where they're growing them is the same. Because a lot of the seeds that we're buying are coming from seed banks all over the world, which are being ordered just like anything else. They're being ordered to a store, and then we buy them, and you know, we think they're grown in that particular place, but they're not. So that's a whole other story, and maybe I'll dive into that in a different video because it's interesting. It's definitely worth thinking about. But for now, I'm just sowing my Echinacea. Thanks for watching. I'm Scarlett. Toodaloo.